When we think of American victories on the battlefield, we often picture the thunder of artillery, the roar of tanks, and the bravery of soldiers under fire. But behind every successful campaign lies something quieter, something less visible, yet just as decisive: planning. From the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of Iraq, American military strategy has consistently evolved, not just to win battles, but to save lives. This is the story of how meticulous planning, logistical foresight, and technological integration helped reduce battlefield losses and change the very nature of modern warfare. In the early years of World War II, the United States faced a steep learning curve. The attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 shocked the nation into action. But as American forces entered the global conflict, they quickly realized that brute force alone would not be enough. The turning point came not just on the battlefield, but in the war rooms. In preparation for Operation Overlord, the D-Day invasion of Normandy, American planners, alongside British allies, undertook one of the most complex military operations in history. Months of aerial reconnaissance, weather analysis, and deception tactics laid the groundwork. Engineers built floating harbors. Logistics officers calculated fuel, food, and ammunition needs down to the hour. This level of preparation wasn't just about efficiency, it was about survival. By anticipating German defenses, terrain challenges, and supply bottlenecks, American planners minimized chaos and confusion during the landings. The cost was still high, but without that planning, it could have been catastrophic. As the war progressed, another truth became clear: logistics win wars. General Dwight D. Eisenhower once said, "You will not find it difficult to prove that battles, campaigns, and even wars have been won or lost primarily because of logistics." American planners took this to heart. The Red Ball Express, a massive truck convoy system, was created to supply the fast-moving Allied front in France. Operating 24 hours a day, it delivered over 400,000 tons of supplies in just 3 months. This logistical backbone allowed American forces to maintain momentum, avoid encirclement, and reduce casualties by ensuring that troops were never left without ammunition, food, or medical support. In contrast, German forces, hampered by fuel shortages and fragmented supply lines, often found themselves isolated and vulnerable. After World War II, American military planners faced new challenges in Korea and Vietnam, conflicts that were less about front lines and more about terrain, insurgency, and unconventional warfare. In Korea, the brutal winters and mountainous terrain forced planners to rethink supply chains. Helicopters were introduced not just for combat, but for rapid medical evacuation, dramatically increasing survival rates for wounded soldiers. In Vietnam, the U.S. faced a different kind of enemy, one that relied on ambushes and guerrilla tactics. American planners responded with innovations like the air mobile concept, using helicopters to insert troops quickly and unpredictably. Though the war was politically and strategically complex, these planning innovations helped reduce exposure to traditional ambushes and increased troop mobility. Yet, these conflicts also revealed the limits of planning. Without clear political objectives and cultural understanding, even the best logistical systems couldn't guarantee victory. Still, the emphasis on reducing casualties through mobility, evacuation, and supply efficiency remained a core lesson. By the time the Gulf War erupted in 1990, American planning had entered a new era, one defined by precision, speed, and integration. Operation Desert Storm was a showcase of what decades of planning evolution could achieve. In just 100 hours of ground combat, coalition forces led by the U.S. decimated Saddam Hussein's army with minimal American casualties. Why? Because the war was won before the first tank crossed the border. Months of satellite surveillance, target mapping, and supply stockpiling preceded the attack. Planners coordinated a massive air campaign that crippled Iraqi command centers, air defenses, and supply routes. GPS-guided bombs and real-time intelligence allowed for surgical strikes with minimal collateral damage. For the first time, American commanders had a real-time view of the battlefield. This situational awareness allowed them to avoid unnecessary engagements, flank enemy positions, and protect their own troops.
In the 21st century, planning has become even more integrated, combining intelligence, cyber capabilities, and human terrain analysis. In Iraq and Afghanistan, American forces faced insurgencies embedded within civilian populations. To reduce both military and civilian casualties, planners developed counterinsurgency strategies that emphasized intelligence gathering, cultural understanding, and precision targeting. Drones provided real-time surveillance. Special operations teams worked with local forces. Medical evacuation times dropped dramatically, with wounded soldiers reaching trauma care within the golden hour, a standard that saved thousands of lives. Even in withdrawal and drawdown operations, planning played a critical role in minimizing risk. The evacuation of Kabul in 2021, though chaotic, involved months of contingency planning that allowed over 120,000 people to be airlifted in just 2 weeks, the largest air evacuation in history.
Throughout American military history, planning has been the quiet force behind victory and survival. From the beaches of Normandy to the deserts of the Middle East, it wasn't just courage that saved lives, it was foresight, coordination, logistics, and a relentless drive to learn from the past. In contrast to other nations that often relied on improvisation or sheer numbers, the American approach increasingly emphasized preparation over reaction. This didn't eliminate loss, but it reduced it. And in war, that difference can mean everything. As we look to the future, with warfare evolving into cyber domains and space, one truth remains. The best way to protect lives on the battlefield is to plan before the first shot is fired. This raises an important question. In a world where technology moves faster than ever, will planning continue to be our greatest defense, or will speed outpace strategy? Only time will tell, but history has already given us the answer, more than once.